Welcome, Telethon attendees. It is Sean and Marisa here to talk to you about solopreneur life and why it should not feel like you're solo. So, with that, we're going to move into our time because it's tight. And Marisa, you're going to kick it off.
Yes. All right. So my first question is, when you think about the reality of going solo, what has surprised you most and what keeps you going and grounded?
What has surprised me the most is actually that it's fun and it's really also about my return on involvement, which is another way of saying ROI. I subscribe to the phrase that your gift will make room for you, and I've really seen that as I've kind of narrowed down my focus and what I offer. I still do, A to Z kind of things, but I've really narrow that down. Also, I've seen the power of collaboration. Personally, I was on an event that there was 12 people for 7,000 dental implant people in Vegas, and we all had our specific roles, yet we got together every day to make it happen. And some of the best memories from 2022 I could ever talk about. And then also those that know me, I have what I call a personal board of directors, of which Marissa is one of the members. I also have some other people that know who they are. But those people help scrape me off the ceiling when I'm having a day like, oh, those clients, I can't understand it. But also because they get me and understand me, but they're also someone I can go for wisdom and insight of me, like, what do you think about this contract clause, that kind of stuff. And there's just really a respect for that. So what would you say to that question, Marissa?
Yeah, I mean, there was no guidebook or anything like that when I first started in this solopreneur life, which was over 10 years ago. Um, and what surprised me the most, and I guess now that I've been doing it, is the work that I've done on myself has really reflected in how my business has succeeded. Really doing a lot of personal work and, mindset work and just really making sure that I'm showing up as my best self as a professional because it reflects in all things business, communications and events and, whatever you're doing as far as your actual business tasks and expertise. If you're not right as a person in terms of mentally, physically, emotionally, then it's going to show up in some way, some fashion. So that that would have been surprising to me prior to doing the work, but now that I've done the work, it's not surprising. So yeah, that's my main thing. One of the things, at least a practical thing, if you're watching this and thinking, well, how do you do that? A lot of things that I've done really reflect what it is to go into work as a business person. So creating routines that mirror what would be your routine if you were going into the office and working with someone. Getting up in the morning, doing my morning walk with my dogs. And when I'm on site at an event and my dogs aren't with me, I go for a morning walk. I try to do and mirror that the same. And when it comes to wellness from a digital perspective, one of the things is, turning off notifications that are not essential when I'm on site, because I don't need a distraction that's going to pull me away from being my best self as an event professional. Even a peer, right? Like if we're collaborating, I don't want something else to distract me when, like, for example, if you and I, Sean, are going to work on a project, I don't want something else to take me away from that. So, and boundaries is, really beneficial, and stepping away from being online all the time, even though, it's funny that they're through Ichi, but we knew of each other before that. So, yeah.
Oh, solopreneur life looks flexible from the outside, but the inside story is much more layered. So, what has actually made sustainable for you, and where have you leaned on others?
Yeah. I think when I think about collaborating and creating these micro moments of connection, whether it's in person or how you and I met, and I reached out on the Solopreneurs channel to, do a co-creating session or collaborating. I don't even think it was just connecting with intention, and we were going to set the intention when we got on the call. There was no, it was just the intention was to connect, right?
Hmm.
And what's spawned from that is a really nice collaboration community. Like Sean, you're expressing things about things going on with work, and I'm sharing stuff that worked for me, and back and forth. We're kind of connecting at least once a month. I think we were trying to do it twice a month early on when, but it was like a lot, and
Just
everyone's,
laid plans,
you
but
know, yeah. But creating those moments for connection, whether they're on a virtual call or when you're in person at an event, and really just trying to, one, you have to be open and willing to lean on others and be vulnerable, because I know that there's been conversations shared that are, in confidence, and obviously wouldn't be shared with other people, but you can't get that if you're not willing to do the same. So,
Hmm.
that's my main thing. But if I'm going to talk about tips, is, the top 3 tips is to protect your energy with digital stuff. Time blocking, especially when it comes to analog time, where you're not online, not connected, because you need to really find who you are, what works for you, what fills you up. And then you know knowing that some things are only for season. So deleting things that might not serve you,
Yeah.
deleting apps, or knowing when to cut a relationship with a long-term client if it's not serving you. So it's tough to do that, but so it's good that we have communities. What about you? What are your tips?
So you've hit on some of them already. I guess my additional ones would be people talk about your pipeline, and I'm one that believes in
Yeah.
keeping it full all the time. And that contract's not definite or that until like it's virtually signed. But um, I've had it where I've had 4 leads all fall through where I thought at least to get half of them. That stings, but at the same time, like just keep it going. And a piggyback on that is I subscribe to at least holding the dates, so I know like if you need me for this block of time, I can let you know if it's available. Because actually, in my agreements, it's like if we agree to do this, I'm gonna ask for some money up front, but also that means that those dates are protected. I'm not gonna give them somebody else. Um, and then also kind of a hybrid on how I track leads from the ones I kind of call hot are up on a whiteboard that I can look at to my right on as I sit at my desk. But also too, I found ClickUp to be very intuitive for me to do. And there's also an app I like having multi-purpose, multi-use. It's like if I'm out and about, I can update that and also the progress on it. Um,
Mhm.
and also, I would say that we've talked about it with time blocking, but I ascribe to time as your inventory and really being respectful of
Mhm.
everyone's time and not being afraid as a solopreneur to be like, I can't give you that. And to really set
Mhm.
those boundaries too, because you might get that client. It's like they're going to hit you all the time on email and that kind of stuff, and setting those boundaries that you don't outright tell them maybe, but like after a certain time, you just don't get because work will always be there. That's something I've learned also. And the last thing I would say is kind of the analogy of a lighthouse that we're always looking at, trying to find out what that means, and knowing and accepting that each person's lighthouse is different and not to overanalyze the journey towards
Mhm.
it. So,
It's so good. I think if we're really, focus on these tips, we can definitely show up as our best selves, and not try to overdo it. I think, they always say it's always about the journey, right? And I think a lot of people will think of going solo as transactional, and, you're in it for the long term. So I think, slow down if you need to, or say you need help. It's not a lonely world out there, especially in Club Ichi. So thank you, Sean, for your time. And
thank you
I
so much.
always enjoy speaking with you. And we'll see you in Club Ichi.
Yes, you can find us on LinkedIn and also in the Slack channel. And if you're not a member, get in here, as they like to say, Liz. So thank you
Yes.
again for your time and again for the invitation from Club Ichi for this telethon. Have a great
Yes.
day.
Y'all, bye.